Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Vera Tarman, and I am an addiction physician working out of Toronto, Canada. So welcome, and I hope you find something useful. Okay, so I've been talking about dopamine in the context of gambling, and dopamine just in the context of, it's our motivational center. Now let's look at some actual interesting, an interesting chart, interesting figure. I'm going to bring myself down so you can actually see this. I want to be here somewhere. Okay, here I am. So dopamine is, like I said, our neurochemical of motivation, of desire, of curiosity. It's the thing that gets me up out of bed. And normal amount. Now, these numbers, the 100, 200, 400, and here 1,000, are actually based on rat research and are not really useful for us, except that, by the way, a lot of psychological research, a lot of what we know about our brain comes from rat research. So it's still very relevant, but the numbers themselves are not so important. But the comparisons or the ratio with each other, in comparison to each other, that's what's important. So let's just say we have this number of 100, and if I mean it could be 1,000. I don't even know what the units are, but this is the general understanding. Think of it like 1,000. Pardon me, 100. So 100 is what I need to get through the day and not be depressed. Because if I'm under 100, like 50 or 0, that means I'm not interested in anything, even though I know I like it generally. Today, I don't want to do it. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to read a book. I don't want to see a movie. Just leave me alone. That's my dopamine flatlining. I'm low. And alternatively, if I'm okay and I'm going to do something wonderful tonight, I go to a great show and get dressed up and all that stuff, I'm anticipating more than just watching something on Netflix or TV. I want like a spectacle. I'm making an effort. So I want something more. I'm looking forward to more. So my dopamine is not 100, but 150. 200, it's higher than 100. Food, like if I'm going to go out for dinner, I want to go to a nice place. I'm not going to go somewhere I'm going to make my own food. I'm going to go somewhere nice and get dressed up and all that stuff. So that my food, which might normally be 130, because I have to cook and make the effort to cook, now I'm going to make the effort to do extra and pay more money because I'm expecting a 150. Sex, I guess you can just self-pleasure yourself, but if you want to actually have an like more than that experience, well, you're going to get dressed up, you got to talk to the person, you have to do all sorts of things so that you're expecting a 150. 200. I might like people to, be nice to me and congratulate me and all that kind of stuff on a regular. So I'm going to be nice in general in the day, be polite and stuff. People say, thank you. That's good. But if I want to have like extra attention, I'm an attention seeker, or I have visions of myself being a professor or something, an astronaut or something like that. I got to work hard because I want that 200. The 200 is far better than a 100. It's twice as much. But I'm going to have to work hard to get that PhD, that MD, that marriage, that fabulous marriage or that fabulous job or whatever it is. I'm going to have to do extra in order. So you can see how it's a motivation and it's exciting. The chase is always, all of us know this. It's more exciting to get the thing than actually have the thing in our hands. Once you get the certificates, like, it's actually more fun looking forward to it. That's the dopamine. And that's normal. So the normal is 100 to 200. So normal day-to-day life, 100, and then all those extra perks to make me get up and make the effort to do things is up to 200. Then we have nature gives us. Now you notice there's 3 other realms here. There's the I guess it's yellowish, the orange, and the light blue that are still natural. I've got drugs in there, but let's erase those drugs for a minute and just leave them empty. That would be for our supernatural experience. So the first 2, dopamine, 100, and food, sex, achievement, excitement, buying a new house, I don't know, whatever. That's all in the 200 range. And then occasionally we are invited into this other realm. So those are the ordinary, and these are the extraordinary. The next 3 categories. These are the extraordinary: normal, abnormal, natural, supernatural. And there's a fellow, Abraham Maslow, who wrote in the 70s and 80s. He was a psychologist who wrote in the 70s and 80s, and he wrote about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And he said, we need to have food, we need to have sex, we need to have our housing in place, our comfort, our safety in place. And we need connection with people, but that's not enough. Every once in a while, he said, we need to have what he called a peak experience. We need to have these moments where life is just uplifted. That's why we like to listen to people who uplift us, who are enlightening. You put on a podcast because you want to get motivated higher than a normal motivation. We're invited into this other realm. Usually it's not at our call, our beck and call. It usually just happens, but sometimes we can call upon it. But most of the time, it's just, I don't know what happened, but today was just one of those magical days. Or it could be your first love, your first kiss, your first something. You can never catch that first. The buzz of that first is we call it chasing the dragon in the drug world, but it's even in the real world. You never get that first Christmas or that first gift or whatever it was. We're always chasing it. We never seem to get it again because it's not on demand. It comes. And Maslow said these experiences are given to us by God, nature, evolution. I don't know who designed this whole thing that we are, this human nature that we are, but nevertheless, we're given this potential for these peak experiences to get through the daily grind of life, because life is good and down and up and down, and eventually it gets kind of tiresome, but then you get this peak experience that's like, all right, this makes it worthwhile. This makes it worthwhile. And he said, Abraham Maslow, he said, we get about 5 of these in a lifetime. In a lifetime. Now, I'm not talking about every weekend, every evening after a hard day's work. I'm talking about in a lifetime. Because generally speaking, the first 2 categories, the 1 to 200, is enough to get me through the day. Walking my dog after a hard day, that's enough. I don't need to have a peak experience, he would say, every day. So we're given the opportunity to have that. That's why these categories are here, but not very often. We're meant to be in the 0 to 200 range, or basically 1 to 200 range. All right, drugs and alcohol come onto the scene, thanks to human nature. Thanks to human nature having figured out that, I can take out the extract of opium from the poppy seed or the poppy bulb, opium bulb, or I can take the cocoa out of the coca leaf, or I can take the fructose out of the wine, the grapes, the potato, the whatever it is, the carbohydrate, and I can make a drug or an alcohol. And so we exponentiate what should be a 0 to 200 experience, because you actually do get a buzz from just fruit. Like that's basically, I wouldn't say exactly sugar addiction, but you do get a pleasure from it. It's a dopamine pleasure. That's why we like sweet things, healthy sweet things. I mean, like fruit and vegetables. But when you exponentiate it beyond that, you really like it. You're liking it into the 200 plus range. And so that's why, alcohol would fit into the 2 to 400 range. It's been exponentiated and it's moved into that category. Cocaine, even more, up to the 400 range. Now, I don't have on this particular slide, I do, marijuana. I think marijuana of the type, cannabis of the type that we're producing today should be at least in the 2 to 400 range. It's not what it was in the 70s when I was a youngster. Crystal meth and fentanyl, these aren't even natural anymore. They're entirely chemically created drugs that mimic others, like either cocaine or opiates. But I mean, their number, if I can get out of the way, it's like 1,000. It's huge. It's huge. So basically what we've got here is spirituality on demand. You're pulling out your remote and you're saying, I'm going to have a bit of this and a bit of this and a bit of this, because basically what I want is a dopamine of more than 200. I want a 300 or 400 or 600 or 800 or 1,000. Somebody said that, a burger, I don't want to say at which place, but you can just guess which one I'm talking about, is equivalent to, like 2 or 3 burgers is equivalent to a sexual experience, because not real food. It's been exponentiated dopamine to mimic a drug, because it's like I said, not real food anymore. It's become a food product, and the food industry has made such efforts into making that dopamine bloated and bigger and more of an experience that it's equivalent to sex. That's why a lot of people would rather eat than have sex. They would rather eat than do things otherwise. How many people will say, you know what, I'm going to stay home tonight and just binge on my food and my shows rather than go out, because it's actually easier. And so what they're doing is actually following this trail, this pathway into spirituality on demand. We're not supposed to be there that often.